On my lives, what I've been telling people is sometimes in life, what we imagine winning looks like in our minds, it doesn't play out that way. And there's been lots of times where that's happened where, we think that we've lost a battle, and a time in the future we look back and we realize that we actually won. And the reason I bring that up, obviously there are some people, and I would disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah! Big time successful!
So, while the truckers didn't come home victorious with the mandates dropped, there were some very significant successes. And the biggest one was that for the first time in a very, very long time, and without the leadership of any politicians or any wealthy people, without any, crazy media planning, Canada became unified. And it wasn't about money or gas prices or energy or anything else. Canada became unified for something that probably most of us here never would have thought would have crossed our mind. And that is that we need to stand up for ourselves and fight for our own freedom. Now, the men and women in that building behind you, unfortunately, they've failed to hear this for 2 years. And now they got a real problem on their hands, because millions and millions of people across Canada are starting to stand up and speak out, to the point where some of these politicians who all they do is chase polls and follow the winds of public opinion, they're changing their tune. How many of you are happy with the things Jason Kenney has said over the last? He went up against the ATA on behalf of the kids over masks. That was a good thing. And he did it not because he thinks it's the right thing. He did it because Albertans in particular stood up and said, we've had enough. And he heard it. So that's the success here. The success is that Canada is united and ignited in their goal to maintain their freedom. And believe me, it is a fight for our freedom now. We're watching people get beat up in the streets for protesting. Pepper spray. The mayor of Ottawa is trying to steal people's trucks who are probably going to lose them anyway because they can't work. Telling them, go home, just go home and go back to your job. You idiot. They don't have a job anymore, and they probably don't have a home. That's why they're there. And it just fell on deaf ears with people like that. But it's not that way with everybody. There are some people in authority in this country who are starting to wake up. And one of the biggest reasons, I think, in my humble opinion, is our neighbors, our friends and neighbors to the south in the United States. They are paying attention. They are paying attention to what's going on in Canada, to the point where there's a congresswoman down there who put a bill on the table to give protesters from Canada who are being persecuted for their beliefs asylum in the United States. Now, how many people here ever thought in their life that they would hear the United States is offering Canadians asylum?
No, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So that's my message to the men and women in buildings like that right there. What the hell are you doing that our neighbors to the south are offering us asylum?
Yeah!
I don't know how much time I have, but I think I'm already over. So I'll end with this. I'm good? I'll end with this anyway, I'm cold. So this Sunday, to my mother's dismay, I'm actually going to travel back to Ottawa.
Yay!
And the reason I'm doing that is because what I watched happen there when they cleared out those protesters who were literally fighting for their own survival, what I watched made me absolutely sick to my stomach. And I believe that as a Canadian, with my right to protest and peacefully assemble, enshrined in the Charter, which, by the way, was signed by a man whose hand I've shaken a few times, I'm going to go there and I'm going to protest, number one, that we're under this Emergency Act that allows those in authority to do this to us, to abuse us and trample on us. I'm going to go protest that. And if they somehow magically drop it, which I don't think they will, because in my experience, when a politician gets power, they don't give it up easily, do they?
No.
But if they do, then we go back to protesting the mandates. Because that's what this was all about in the beginning. Even with my situation, with my restaurant, with the mandates, we were fighting for survival. But our survival became less of a priority after we heard stories from people like you. Stories of what these mandates and restrictions had done to them on a personal level. People have lost family members because of the restrictions, because of bad government policy, and the government wouldn't listen. It was about that. And then they started in on the truckers. And look out. So the truckers were fighting for themselves and others, because a lot of the folks there, actually probably 50% of the truckers that I met, they wouldn't have a problem going to work because they did what the government told them to, because they had to. They were fighting for their neighbors and their friends because they saw the segregation and the division and the harassment. They saw that happening to their friends and they knew it was wrong. So they got in their rigs and they went to Ottawa and they made some noise for them. At the same time, they were also making noise for those federal workers in Ottawa, for postal employees, railway workers, everybody affected by the federal mandates. It wasn't just about the truckers, and it still isn't. The truckers were just the catalyst that was needed to get Canada united and ignited, and it worked. So that is the success. And if anybody remembers, when I opened my restaurant last January against the restrictions, a really nice lady from Stettler dropped off a box of hats. Does anybody know what it said on those hats? It said, "We're stronger together." And now, unlike any time in Canadian history, at least that I'm aware of, Canada is united. Which makes those folks in the green jacket blocking the entrances to the building where we're supposed to be able to speak, it makes them all but irrelevant. It's not about the people in that building. It never ever was. It is about the people here. And as long as we can keep this momentum and stay unified and remain stronger together, those people in there will be accountable. Now that comes with a little bit of a warning. Unfortunately, some of us are going to take some bumps and bruises in the next little while. Some of us are going to end up thrown in jail. Our bank accounts are going to get frozen. We're going to get persecuted by the people in there and the people in Parliament. But we're going to do it anyway, because not only is it the right thing to do, but that's the only path we have. In order to do this peacefully, without violence, at least from us,